Hey everybody, my name is Andrew.
And my name is Morag.
And we're back with another Culips episode. Hey there, Morag.
Oh, hiya, Andrew.
How are you today?
I'm doing all right. Little tired this morning, but I have a feeling it's going to be a pretty good day.
I hope so. And maybe when your day is done, you could relax with a drink.
I just might.
Well, today we are going to do a real talk episode where we teach all of our listeners the expressions needed to be able to do just that, to order a drink at a bar. And we have a resident expert here with us because Morag, your other job is actually bartending, isn't it?
Actually, it's currently I'm working as a bar back, but I have bartended before. And I'm around bartenders all the time.
Oh, a bar back. What is that?
A bar back is someone who looks after the bartenders in a bar. I look after 4 bartenders, 3 to 4 bartenders, and I make sure that they have everything that they need. So it's my job to make sure that they're just standing there making cocktails and serving customers and don't have to do anything else. It's the step before fancy bartending. So if you want to be a cocktail bartender or, make really crazy drinks, that's sort of the hierarchy. You start as a bar back and then you learn to become a bartender.
Interesting. I didn't know that. So you're the person that supplies them with ice and glasses and keeps things clean. That idea?
That idea, and also, if they're like, oh no, something happened, I will come and fix it. Give me more of this. Where is this thing? Can you handle that person right now? That kind of stuff.
Very cool.
Yeah. It's fun.
I bet you it's fun.
Yeah.
So, excellent. Why don't you outline the plan for today's episode for us, Morag?
Oh, absolutely. So in this episode, we will begin by listening to a conversation between a bartender and a customer, and it's taking place, at a bar. After we listen to it, we will take a close look at the conversation and examine all the key expressions that you guys need to know.
We'll listen to the conversation right after this message.
Do you like listening to Culips? If so, please show your support by leaving Culips a 5-star rating and a review on iTunes or Stitcher. This helps new listeners find the show. So don't delay. Rate and review today.
Hey, how you doing today?
I'm good. How about you?
Oh, I can't complain. What can I get for you?
Do you have any specials today?
Yep. We have a $5 cocktail special until 9 p.m. and $4 domestic pints and highballs all night.
Ooh, okay. That sounds good. I'll have a pint of Canadian and I'll get a gin and tonic and a dirty martini for my friends.
All right. Okay, so that's $16.
Here you go, and keep the change.
Cheers. Thanks. We just heard a conversation between a bartender and a customer. The customer ended up ordering 3 drinks for himself and his friends. Now we'll examine some of the vocabulary and expressions that were used in this conversation in more detail.
Yeah, and so the first area that I want to look at today is about asking about drink specials. Let's listen to that part of the conversation one more time where the customer inquired about drink specials. Do you have any specials today? Do you have any specials today? Morag, does the bar that you work at offer drink specials?
No. It's a slightly strange thing. Really, like high-end places will often have a drink special that's something that like a bartender came up with that night or that week, kind of like how chefs have set menus sort of thing. And then sort of more, I don't want to say cheap, but like populist places will also have that. And then in the middle range, you tend to just have a set menu. So the bar that I work at, a cocktail bar / nightclub. So the cocktail bar does not have any drink specials, and nightclubs, well, they want all of your money, so they don't. They sometimes will and sometimes won't have drink specials, but it's always good to ask because, hey, you never know.
Yeah, and I think a lot of places offer drink specials. Maybe not everywhere.
There's a lot where they'll have something on a specific night too. So if you learn that the bar around the corner always has cheap beer on Thursday, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I would say that most bars or pubs or even clubs that offer some kind of drink special will change the special very, very often. So maybe Tuesday, it's like you said, cheap beer. And then Wednesday, it might be a cheaper cocktail or something like this. There's a lot of variation.
Yeah, Thursday is often cheap beer nights because it's when students go out, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always a good idea to ask and see.
So some other useful vocabulary to know is the expression happy hour.
Happy hour. That's the time between usually 5 and 7.
It usually starts in the late afternoon and ends in the early evening. A couple hours right around when people get off work.
Exactly. And happy hours, they usually have specific drink specials for that time. Things are a little cheaper to try and get people in. And if you're in Montreal specifically, it's called 5 à 7.
From 5 to 7.
But that's only if you want to come and visit Montreal.
Which everybody should do.
Yeah.
Another expression that you definitely won't find this at every bar, but some bars, I feel especially American bars, will offer 2-for-1 drinks during a happy hour. What does this mean, 2 for 1?
It means you get 2 drinks for the price of 1 drink. So you just get the same thing free. You get double.
Yeah, buy one, get one free. Can't go wrong with that.
Well, you can definitely go wrong. You can have too much quickly. But, everybody drink responsibly.
Good. All right, Morag. Let's continue with our examination of this conversation. The second area we'll look at today is some specialized vocabulary about drinks and about drinking. So let's talk a little about drinks. There are so many different kinds of alcoholic beverages and so many specialized words that we use to talk about them.
It's true. Well, in this conversation, we heard about a cocktail and we heard about pint, and that would be a draft pint. Draft pint means on tap, and in this one, they asked for a domestic pint, which means that it is something that was made in the country that you're in. Interesting, right? And then you have a highball, which is a very simple mixed drink, and a dirty martini, another sort of cocktail. Do you want to talk about those in a little bit more depth?
Yeah, let's take a look at that. So, the first drink you mentioned there, Morag, is a cocktail. And strictly defined, a cocktail is a mixed drink that contains 4 elements: sugar, water, spirits, and bitters. Now, since you work in a bar, Morag, maybe you can enlighten everybody, including myself. What exactly are bitters?
It's basically just very intensely flavored liquid. It's kind of like hot sauce for a drink. It's a lot of herbs and spices, and they're usually mystery blends. But you will get things like orange bitters, which have the flavor of orange mostly, or Angostura bitters are the most common. So if you just taste bitters, most often that's actually Angostura bitters.
Okay, very cool. So it's concentrated flavor.
Very concentrated, bitter flavor. No sweetness.
And so a famous kind of cocktail is the iconic Manhattan. The next drink we heard mentioned in the conversation was a domestic pint. And yeah, you explained this a little bit, but okay, a pint and a domestic pint. What's going on there?
A pint is just the name for the glass. So you can have a pint of anything that's on draft, anything that's on tap. So you can have a pint of cider, it's some places, or a pint of beer. The glass is in Canada 473 milliliters large. But pint sizes will actually change from English-speaking country to English-speaking country, and sometimes from bar to bar, which is a bit odd. You'll have true pints and also just pints. Anyway, and then, like I said, domestic beer is a beer that was brewed in Canada. So, in other words, it's not an import from somewhere else. Like, say, I don't think anyone would have this on tap, but, like Budweiser. That's an American beer. So it's an import beer, not a domestic.
Yes.
So all in all, a domestic pint is a glass of Canadian beer.
And often it's cheaper than import beer, right? Domestic beer is usually cheaper than import beer.
Yes, most often, because there's no taxes or extra taxes on top.
The next drink we heard mentioned was a highball. And like you said, Morag, this is a very simple mixed drink. But actually, a highball is quite a bit simpler than a cocktail because it's just alcohol and a mixer. Okay, so like soda or juice and alcohol, maybe some ice too, I would assume.
Yeah, yes, definitely. This is probably the most common thing to order at like going dancing or at the club, that sort of thing, is just people will ask for a gin and soda, gin and tonic, rye and ginger, very Canadian, or, a vodka soda, that sort of thing. Any simple drink like that is a highball.
Now, you wouldn't go to the bar and say, I'd like a highball, please, would you?
No. You specify because it's only 2 things. So there are always 2 words like that. It's vodka, soda, So you just say the alcohol you want and the word and then the mix you like. So Coke, Sprite, 7-Up.
Exactly. Good. And so the last drink we heard about was a dirty martini. And most people will know about martinis, but what is the difference between a martini and a dirty martini?
A dirty martini has olive juice in it, actually, because Martini is gin and vermouth, very little vermouth. So dirty martini, they put just a little bit of olive brine, the juice that olives float in when you buy them in a jar. And they put that into the shaker and shake it up along. And then there's another popular type of martini, which is a dry martini. And that's made with less vermouth. Usually there's rather little vermouth to begin with. So sometimes making a dry martini, they actually just take the glass, kind of coat the inside in vermouth and dump it out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's like just that you just have a tiny bit of leftover vermouth in the glass, and then you're just drinking gin.
Interesting.
It's just delicious if you get good gin.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to the final part of the conversation that we'll take a closer look at today. And this is a cultural aspect. If you travel to North America, Canada, or the US, you're going to have to tip when you visit a bar. And for everyone that doesn't know, what is tipping?
Tipping is leaving a small amount of money for the person who served you. So, for example, a lot of service positions earn tips. In North America, we tip hairdressers. I think it's 15%, something like that.
Yeah.
Of the cost of the haircut, we leave for the hairdresser as a tip. Same thing with servers in restaurants. You leave them usually 10 to 20% of your bill. And then bartenders, it's per drink.
Exactly. So if you were to buy 2 drinks, let's say one for you and one for a friend, in Canada, what would the expected tip be for buying 2 drinks?
The expected tip is $1 per drink. So we expect to see, a loonie.
Yeah, a loonie being the Canadian $1 coin, right?
Yeah. So you expect to see one of those per drink. If you're getting a fancy cocktail, though, it's quite nice to leave, or very much appreciated to leave like $1.25, $1.50, even $2, because someone has put a lot more work into it.
That makes a lot of sense, right? If you are simply pouring a beer, it's not that difficult, but some cocktails can get quite intricate, quite complicated. So yeah, you would want to show your appreciation by perhaps leaving a little higher tip in that situation.
For cocktails, I'll leave $1.50 to $2. But a regular drink is just $1.
Now, the customer in our conversation used an interesting expression to indicate that he was leaving a tip. Let's listen to that one more time. And keep the change. And keep the change. So he said, keep the change. Keep the change. What does this mean, Morag? Keep the change.
It means that the server or bartender should keep for themselves whatever they would usually give back as change. So I think in this example, the customer owed $16 and gave the bartender a $20 bill. By saying keep the change, they were saying keep all $4 that is extra for yourself.
And this is a very common expression that you can use whenever you want to give a tip. Could be to a taxi driver or a hairdresser, bartender. Anytime somebody is giving you some change, but you need to tip, you can just tell them, keep the change, and that will suffice as the tip.
As long as it's generally in the right area.
If you're expecting to get back 25 cents and you say keep the change, this will just be taken as an insult, maybe?
Yeah, you might actually have someone say something to you.
Right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so remember to tip everybody.
I mean, this is something that we should actually focus on a little bit, because I know in most parts of the world, tipping isn't a big thing. And so people aren't accustomed to doing it when they're traveling in North America. But it is really expected of you to tip. So if you're going to a bar, a restaurant, or any sort of service establishment, you have to tip, guys. It's really expected.
It's very, very important because in both Canada and the United States, the people who are serving you, they are paid far lower wages than any other job, and they make enough money to live based on tips. So you have to tip them.
Have to do it. Morag probably likes tipping because she gets tips from her job. I don't get tips from my job, so I understand that it can be a little annoying and you feel like maybe it's more expensive than it should be, but all in all, it's just the price that you have to pay. So
I've worked enough customer service jobs that I know how taxing, like emotionally, it can be to deal with people. So I feel like getting a little extra money sometimes, this might be okay. But it depends on where you're working, because some jobs that make tips get more money than you would think. And then some jobs get way less, and they're the ones that really, really need those tips. Like your local coffee shop person.
yeah.
Those guys work all day, and people you don't usually tip them. So it's a good way to say, like, I appreciate the work that you're doing.
Keep up the good work. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode.
And don't forget that we will be replaying the conversation one more time at the end of the show. So stay tuned for that so you can review.
That's right. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please support us. If you could rate and review us wherever you listen to your podcasts, that would be awesome.
It sure would. And if you have any questions or comments for us, you can send us a message through our Facebook page, which is located on the internet at facebook.com/Culips Of course, we have our own website as well, culips.com.
That's all for now, everybody. We will be back soon with another new episode.
Bye.
Bye. Hey, how you doing today?
I'm good. How about you?
Oh, I can't complain. What can I get for you?
Do you have any specials today?
Yep. We have a $5 cocktail special until 9 p.m. and $4 domestic pints and highballs all night.
Ooh, okay. That sounds good. I'll have a pint of Canadian, and I'll get gin and tonic and a dirty martini for my friends.
All right. Okay, so that's $16.
Here you go, and keep the change.
Cheers. Thanks.